Good evening and thanks very much for joining us. I'm Brittany Ramsey. We begin tonight with some promising news on the COVID-19 front as the district's number of active cases is now the lowest it's been since November 9th. Today, the health unit reporting just one new case in the Thunder Bay area. The exposure source is unknown. That brings the total case count to 3,185. Just 17 are still considered active. That's after 8 more cases were deemed resolved. Meanwhile, we took to the streets to check in with local residents to get their reaction to our lowest case count in 7 months.
I think it's great. Woohoo, Thunder Bay. Keep doing what we're doing.
It's definitely reassuring for sure to see the cases be going down and to see, especially with the weather getting warmer.
It's kind of refreshing. Hopefully the summer things will open a little more, especially for the kids getting back to school.
That's great. We're getting more of the vaccine.
People have taken precaution, and if they all took precaution, it would, which they are, because it is getting down, and these poor businesses, we need to help them also.
I think Thunder Bay's done a good job, and hopefully things as soon as possible get back to normal, whether it's going to come school September.
The trust in the vaccines that we're experiencing in the community, it's really reassuring that we'll be moving on to next stages where we'll have a safer city to live and a safer province and a safer country to live.
Ontario pharmacies are racing to distribute about 31,000 AstraZeneca shots that are set to expire at the end of the month. Health Minister Christine Elliott says she's confident that Ontario will get enough AstraZeneca supply to provide second doses to those who want one.
We have received another shipment of AstraZeneca vaccines, 254,000, and they will be distributed to pharmacies.
The province has also expanded its pharmacy rollout. Nearly 20 Thunder Bay locations have now been approved to administer COVID vaccines, along with a handful of pharmacies in smaller towns along the North Shore. 2 Janssen's stores in Northwood and Westfort are set to receive shipments of Moderna this evening. The company began booking appointments today and already had a few dozen people sign up.
We roughly have about 35 to 40 appointments. Our website for booking only went live approximately 3 hours ago. So a number of people have started reaching out. We're roughly expecting a minimum of about 100 a week, hopefully more.
Now, so far, the Moderna shot has been approved for adults 18 and older. Well, for the second straight day, Ontario is reporting less than 1,100 new cases. And with case counts dropping, the Ford government is under increasing pressure to make a decision on schools. Ontario's chief medical officer says he's in favor of resuming in-class learning as early as next week. Colin DeMello has details.
With Ontario's COVID-19 case counts dropping, the pressure on the Progressive Conservative government is increasing to make a decision on schools, as parents look for clarity on whether kids can return to the classroom.
It's almost done. They could just as well stay at home. Everything has already been put in place for the kids at home.
I think it's worthwhile for them to be back at school. They need the, with the other children and teachers, they learn better.
Not until they're 100% safe would I ever even dream of sending my kids back to school.
Ontario's chief medical officer of health says he is in favor of schools reopening for in-person learning as early as next week.
As for the decision when that's going to be, that really is in a decision that has to be made up at the cabinet level.
But the government hasn't revealed which way it plans to go.
We need to make sure that the community transmission is low enough for that to be safe, because what happens in schools reflects really what's happening in the community. So this is something that we are watching very carefully.
The government is facing calls from public health experts, infectious disease specialists, and pediatricians to reopen classrooms as quickly as possible, as some children continue to struggle with online learning.
They don't have a teacher to go to. They don't have a coach at this time that they could go to. And we're saying that this is okay. And I just think when we are in a situation where we're thinking about opening up some elements such as golfing or some recreational activities, we really need to think about what's happening in schools and why aren't we putting some focus there.
Critics of the government say if they are unwilling to make a decision, they should give the responsibility over to local medical officers of health.
I think the decision to reopen schools should be left with the public health units we have across Ontario to make their regional decisions based on the evidence they have at their disposal locally and regionally, working closely with school boards.
It is unclear when a final decision will be made.
For the second straight year, local high school graduates will have to do without a traditional graduation ceremony, but Thunder Bay's two largest school boards are doing everything they can to ensure students still get their special day, despite, of course, these unusual circumstances. Ryan Benazzo has details.
Last year, Lakehead Public School teachers and staff had to go door to door delivering makeshift graduation ceremonies to each individual student. This year, students will at least have the opportunity to celebrate inside their school.
The resilience of our students.
Superior Collegiate Principal Ryan McDonnell calls high school graduation a watershed moment in a teenager's life. His students and their families will be invited inside this year, though not en masse.
Students will be given a time slot. They'll be invited in with their family members. The health unit will let us know how many could come in. They'll have their cap and gown, they'll cross the stage and get their diploma and awards. Their family will be there to see and take pictures, and then they'll exit through a side door after receiving a small gift.
Those who've been learning from home all year will also be invited to attend, but if they're not comfortable coming to the school,
we'll go to the students' home with a sign that they could put on their lawn. We'll deliver their diplomas, have a quick visit.
The Catholic Board chose to hold its graduation ceremonies outdoors a year ago, and weather permitting, its schools will do the same again this year.
What we're going to do is try and build on our success from last year. We felt we had, we put forth a really, fun product, something that was unique, and we got positive feedback from parents and students. So we're going to build on that this year. Customize it to our graduates this year, so it's not going to be the same.
Roberto says after all they've had to put up with these last 2 school years, the graduates deserve their day in the sun.
We want to make sure that they know we're here for them, and we want to make sure that they get what they deserve. And, we want them sent off on a high note.
While the graduation plans may differ slightly between boards, the one thing that's true of all students and educators is the hope for a return of a normal graduation ceremony next year. Ryan Benazzo, TVT News.
Hairdressers and barbers across Ontario are staging a silent protest today. It's aimed at the Ford government, and local salon owners are joining the campaign. It's called Red Balloon Wednesdays. The color is meant to recognize that hairdressers are in the red due to provincial lockdowns. Local salons have been forced to remain closed for all but 2 weeks in 2021, and under the government's latest reopening plan, they will likely stay closed until late July. Residents and business owners are being encouraged to fly a red balloon outside their front doors every Wednesday to show their support for the personal care industry. The Ally Beauty Association is also asking for online signatures on its website and for people to share the hashtag #FordFailsBeauty. Demand for long-term care beds in Ontario is expected to outpace supply by the year 2030, even if the province meets its goal of building tens of thousands of additional spaces. That's according to Ontario's fiscal watchdog. Rahim Ladani reports.
The report finds the cracks in Ontario's long-term care sector have been amplified by the pandemic, forcing the province to invest into fixing the problems. The Ministry of Long-Term Care is projected to spend $6.9 billion next year, up $500 million from this year. And the fiscal watchdog believes that spending will grow to $10.6 billion in the next 10 years.
This is just a way of providing a baseline on the long-term care plan, what it looks like now, if you overlay the government's commitments.
Last November, the Ford government committed to building 30,000 new long-term care beds over 10 years and increase the care nursing home residents get to 4 hours from the current 2.75 by 2024-25. The Financial Accountability Office believes 37,000 nurses and personal support workers will need to be hired over the next 4 years to meet that commitment.
It's a significant increase. They've been thinking about this for a while, so it's not like they just suddenly, to my understanding, it's something they've been sort of pondering. I don't think it'll be easy.
The report also looked at the growing demand for long-term care and found even if the government succeeds in adding 30,000 new beds, the FAO says it won't be enough to keep pace with Ontario's aging population.
Thunder Bay lawyer Sandy Zaitsev faced a disciplinary hearing today, and rather than revoke his law license, a tribunal of the Law Society of Ontario allowed him to surrender it instead. Zaitsev's license was suspended provisionally in 2016 after Thunder Bay police charged him with numerous criminal offenses. In April 2018, he pleaded guilty to 1 count of invitation to sexual touching involving a minor, 2 counts of assault, and possessing a firearm without a license. Zaitsev was sentenced to 15 months probation after he was credited for 6 months of pretrial custody. Now, at today's hearing, the Law Society Tribunal heard that the incident involving a minor constituted significant misconduct. However, Zaitsev had admitted to his conduct, showed remorse, and participated in rehabilitation. His lawyer said giving him the opportunity to leave the profession voluntarily would provide slightly less stigma than having his license revoked. An explosion of interest in Thunder Bay area nature trails is being welcomed by the Lakehead Region Conservation Authority, but the organization says it needs to step up enforcement of its user fees in order to maintain the amenities. Troy Charles has more.
In a usual year, the LRCA normally sees around 300,000 visitors to its collection of conservation areas, which include Mission Island Marsh and the Cascades. However, those numbers skyrocketed in 2020. Spokesperson Ryan Mackett estimates they received 475,000 visits last year. And aside from a few instances of vandalism, Mackett says the new visitors were well-mannered.
The community has been, for the most part, fantastic, and we've, yes, we've noticed more garbage, and yes, we've noticed an increase on the trails, but for the most part, people have been super respectful and really well behaved, which is nice. We were worried that it was going to be this explosion, and it wasn't. It was just everybody seems to recognize the fact that we have these natural properties for everybody to use and enjoy, and people are taking care of them.
Unfortunately, the increased traffic highlighted the ongoing issue of users not paying the mandatory day use fees. The LRCA estimates only 2% of visitors pay its mandatory fees. The problem came to head this winter at Silver Harbor during the influx of visitors trying to catch a glimpse of the blue ice. As a result, this fall, the LRCA will be introducing pay and display units at 2 of its most popular locations, the Cascades and Mission Marsh.
And parking at Cascades and Mission Island Marsh will be enforced under City of Thunder Bay parking bylaws. And that is just something, the reality of how things are going. And if people, want to still enjoy these conservation areas to the level that they've expect them to be maintained and kept, that's something that we have to do. The reality is that we need to be having some income come in, some revenue generation through the sales of Explore cards and parking fees.
As of now, user fees are $5 day use fee or the Explore card, which cost $40 a year. The LRCA normally sells around 250 Explore cards in a year, but less than halfway into 2021, more than 1,100 have been purchased. Troy Charles, TBT News.
The Real Memories of the Lakehead Group will be hosting a virtual presentation this evening, taking residents behind the scenes of all the work that's gone into digitizing local newsreels from the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. Last year, the Thunder Bay Museum commissioned Ron Harpel and Kelly Saxberg to carry out the big project with help from 2 interns funded by the NOHFC. The Real Memories project team has been working to clean, organize, log, and prepare nearly 250,000 feet of news and sports footage donated by Dougal Media and convert it into digital videos. Saxberg says the team has been working hard sorting through dozens of boxes of film, and they look forward to sharing it.
They were all in storage at the museum for more than 3 decades. The film footage starts from the earliest days of actually local film being shot here at the Lakehead in terms of news.
Basically, we're going to take people through the process. We're going to tell them kind of what we discovered when we discovered the films, and then we'll go through the whole process, and people will be able to see basically the work that's involved in rescuing these images from the film and then digitizing them so that eventually they'll be available through the museum.
The free online presentation begins at 7 o'clock tonight. The link is available on the Real Memories Facebook page or on the Thunder Bay Museum's website.
I swear I saw Ryan Benazzo in one of those shots.